Let me begin today by saying something I learned many years ago. Most people are waiting. Waiting for inspiration, waiting for the right mood, waiting for the wind to blow just right. And that's the problem. If you're waiting for motivation to start your journey, you may be waiting the rest of your life. Motivation is a wonderful thing, but it's like the weather, pleasant when it comes, unpredictable when you need it, and completely outside your control. And here's what I discovered. Life does not respond to what you feel, it responds to what you do. You see, I meet people who say, Jim, one of these days I'm going to get serious about my goals. One of these days. What a sad phrase. I've counted and discovered that there are 7 days in the week, and one of these days is not one of them. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they keep postponing the moment of beginning. They're waiting for the feeling to arrive, waiting for the mood to strike, waiting for energy to magically appear. But if you depend on emotional weather to run your life, you'll never build anything lasting. Motivation is a spark. It may start the engine, but it won't keep the car moving. What keeps the car moving is structure, decision, commitment, things you can build, things you can design, things you can depend on. The question isn't, how do I feel today? The real question is, what have I decided to do with my life? Because feelings change, seasons change, the wind shifts, but decisions, real decisions, remain when the mood disappears. And so my purpose today is simple. I want to teach you a system that works whether you feel inspired or not, a way to be consistent even on days when you'd rather hide under the covers, a way to take that dream you've been talking about for years and finally move it from intention to reality. You don't need more motivation. You need a framework. You need a philosophy. You need a way to act when emotions refuse to cooperate. Today we'll discuss 3 powerful ideas. First, the decision, because everything changes the day you truly decide. Second, the design, because your environment must support your ambition. And third, the discipline, the daily practice that turns effort into excellence. My promise is that if you grasp these 3, you will never again sit around waiting for motivation to begin your life. You'll start because starting is who you are. And from that new identity, the results will come as predictably as the sunrise. Now let's talk about why motivation fails so many people. And it's important to understand this part, because you can't escape a trap you don't see. Most people misunderstand motivation. They think it's fuel for the journey, when in reality it's just the spark. And a spark is wonderful, but try heating your home with a spark. Try cooking your dinner with a spark. The spark is the beginning, not the power. Here's the first reason motivation fails. Motivation is emotional, and emotions are not reliable workers. They don't show up on time, they don't follow instructions, and they certainly don't respect your goals. One day you feel unstoppable, ready to take on the world. The next day you can't even find the energy to answer an email. And if your progress depends on how you feel, your life will swing like a door in the wind, back and forth, but never forward. The second reason motivation fails is that the mind is wired for comfort, not progress. Your brain has one job: keep you alive, not make you successful, not help you grow, not encourage you to rise early and build a better life. No, its job is to avoid discomfort. That's why so many people start something meaningful and quit the first time it feels difficult. Their mind whispers, let's not do that. It feels unfamiliar. It feels new, and new might be dangerous. That's why I tell people, don't be surprised when your mind argues against your own goals. It's doing its job, you must do yours. The third reason motivation fails, the comfort habit. Comfort is a sneaky enemy. It doesn't announce itself as danger. It sounds peaceful. It feels warm. And it tells you things that seem reasonable. You deserve a break. You can start tomorrow. You're tired. Rest a little. And soon, comfort becomes a pattern. And patterns become identity. And identity becomes destiny. Now here's something important. Most people think they fall because they lack motivation. But that's not true. They fall because they lack a system for the days motivation doesn't show up. The days you're tired, the days you're discouraged, the days life throws a curveball, the days when your mood is low and your enthusiasm is nowhere to be found, Those are the days that separate the few from the many. The many only act when they feel inspired. The few act because they made a decision. And let me give you one more reason motivation fails. Delay disguised as preparation. Some people read every book, watch every video, attend every seminar, but never act. They say, I'm getting ready. I heard that for years. I'm getting ready. And I used to say, how long have you been getting ready? Oh, several years. I'd say, my friend, if you get any more ready, we'll have to bury you. Preparation is good, but preparation without action becomes procrastination decorated as productivity. So the conclusion is simple. Motivation is a bonus, not a foundation. If it comes, wonderful, use it. If it doesn't, move anyway. The goal is not to feel ready. The goal is to become the kind of person who acts regardless of readiness. And that requires something far stronger than motivation. It requires the first great shift, the ability to make a real decision. Now, let's move to the first great shift, the decision. And let me tell you, not many people ever make one. Oh, they make wishes, they make preferences, they make casual promises to themselves, but a real decision, that's rare. And that rarity is why success is rare. A real decision is the moment when you draw a line in the sand and say, this is it, no more drifting, no more almost, no more someday. Most people don't understand the power of a decision. They think a decision is something you make with your mouth. No, a real decision is something you make with your life. A decision is not a sentence, it's a shift. The day you decide, your direction changes, your behavior changes, your priorities change. You start moving with intention instead of emotion. You begin to build a life instead of waiting for one. Let me tell you one of the saddest things I've learned. Many people spend more time choosing what to eat for dinner than choosing what to do with their life. I ask them, where are you going? And they say, oh, wherever life takes me. I say, my friend, life is not a taxi. You don't get in and hope it drives somewhere nice. You pick the destination. Without a decision, you drift. And drifting never leads to excellence. Here's the truth. Most people never change because they never decide to change. They prefer change. They want change. They talk about change, but they never make the kind of decision that makes change unavoidable. And there is a difference. Preference says, it would be nice. Decision says it will be done. Preference lives in the mind. Decision lives in behavior. So what is a real decision? A real decision has three qualities. Number one, it is irreversible. You close the escape door. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop asking, do I feel like it? Because the decision is already made. The bridge behind you, burned. And sometimes that's the only way a person learns to move forward with no way back. Number two, it comes with clear boundaries. Without boundaries, your decision has no structure. It's like telling yourself you'll eat healthier, too vague. You need something concrete. No sugar after 6 p.m. Run 3 times a week. Read 10 pages every night. You can't manage what you can't measure, and you can't commit to fog. Number 3, it has a cost accepted up front. Every meaningful decision has a price. Time, energy, comfort, routine. And the people who rise are the people who say, yes, I understand the cost and I accept it before I begin. If you don't accept the cost, you'll abandon the journey the first time it presents the bill. Let me give you an example. A man once told me, Jim, I've decided to start a business. I asked, have you? He said, well, sort of. There's the problem, sort of. No one becomes successful on sort of. No one wakes up early for sort of. No one transforms their life with sort of. I told him, a decision that still allows an escape is not a decision. It's a wish with shoes on. Now, why is a real decision so important for consistency? Because decisions create commitment, and commitment creates direction. And when you have direction, you don't wander into your goals. You walk into them. You begin to say, this is who I am now. This is what I do every day, whether I feel like it or not. And that's when the magic begins. So here's the first assignment. Craft your decision statement. One sentence. Clear, strong, not emotional, intentional. Something like, I will work out 4 times a week because my health is non-negotiable. I will study every day from 7 to 8 because my future deserves discipline. I will produce one piece of content a day because my dreams require output. Say it, write it, commit to it, and from this moment forward, let your life, not your feelings, honor what you decided. Because remember, the day your life changes isn't the day you feel inspired, it's the day you decide. Now, once you've made a real decision, the next step is just as important. You must design the environment that supports that decision. And let me tell you, this is where most people lose the battle. They make a decision? Yes. They even feel good about it. But then they go right back into an environment built for the old life, and they wonder why nothing changes. My friends, you can't build a new life in an old environment. It simply won't hold. I learned early in my career that your environment is stronger than your willpower. Willpower is a battery, it drains. Environment is a power plant, it generates. And if you put yourself in the wrong environment, it doesn't matter how strong your intention is, the environment will win. The few understand this, the many don't. The many rely on motivation, the few rely on design. Let me explain. Imagine deciding to eat healthier, but your kitchen is filled with sugar and snacks. Well, that environment has already voted you're outnumbered before you even begin. You say, Jim, I'll resist it. And I say, my friend, don't put yourself in the position of having to resist every day. Remove the resistance. Most people spend their lives fighting battles they could have prevented by simply designing a different environment. Now, let me give you the principle. Design beats desire. Desire says, I want to change. Design says, I've made it easy to succeed and difficult to fail. And success belongs to the people who make success easy and failure hard. Let me say that again so it sinks in. Make success easy and failure hard. So how do we design an environment that supports consistency? Let's break it into 3 parts. Number 1, your physical environment. This is the space you see every day. Your desk, your room, your car, your kitchen, everything you see either pulls you toward your goal or pulls you back into your old habits. If your desk is cluttered, your mind will be cluttered. If your living space is chaotic, your routines will be chaotic. If your phone is full of distractions, your day will be full of detours. Here's the rule. Remove what weakens you. Arrange what strengthens you. If you want to read more, put the book on the pillow. If you want to work out, lay your clothes out the night before. If you want to study, clear the desk. Success needs a space, give it one. Number 2, your time environment. People say, Jim, I don't have time. I say, of course you do. You just haven't structured it yet. A day with no schedule is like a wallet with no budget. Everything disappears. Time slips through the cracks. The few schedule their priorities. The many prioritize whatever shows up. Put your commitments on the calendar or they won't exist. Build non-negotiable hours. Build review windows. Build thinking time. Build learning time. A good life is not built by chance. It's built by a weekly schedule. Number 3, your mental environment. Your mind must be surrounded by the right ideas, the right influences, and the right voices. And let me tell you something. I've repeated for decades. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you want to change your life, sometimes you have to upgrade your circle. Not because you're better than anyone, but because your future demands a different counsel. Fill your mind with books that challenge you, ideas that stretch you, people who inspire you. Guard your energy from complainers, excuse makers, and victims because mindsets are contagious. Your mind is a garden. Guard the gate. Plant deliberately. Now, if you design these 3 environments, physical, time, and mental, your decision becomes easier to honor. You no longer rely on motivation. You rely on structure. And structure is dependable. Structure works even on the days you don't feel like working. Structure holds you up when your feelings try to pull you down. Let me give you a little Jim Rohn rule. Don't trust yourself to do what you haven't prepared yourself to do. That's the heart of design. You build a life that carries you forward even when your mood refuses to cooperate. So before we move to the next section, here's your assignment. Look around your life and ask, does this environment support the person I'm becoming or the person I've been? If it supports the old you, change it. If it supports the new you, strengthen it. Your environment is not decoration, it's direction. And with a proper direction, we can now talk about the third shift, the one that turns potential into mastery, discipline through daily practice. Now let's move to the third great shift, discipline through daily practice. If decision is the spark and design is the setup, then discipline is the engine. And let me tell you, once the engine starts running, consistency becomes far easier than you imagine. But you must start the engine every day, not when the weather is nice, not when you feel inspired, every day. People often ask, Jim, how do I build discipline? And I tell them, discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you create. And you create it one small practice at a time. Discipline is not a talent, it's a habit. And if you practice it long enough, it becomes your new identity. Let me give you a truth that changed my life. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. A little discipline today prevents a mountain of regret tomorrow. And the people who understand this do the hard thing now so that life becomes easier later. The people who don't do the easy thing now and life becomes harder later, life always presents you with two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Choose wisely. Here's something else. Discipline is not about pushing yourself into exhaustion. It's about training yourself into consistency. And the best way to start is not with huge goals, but with small daily promises. People fail because they try to climb the mountain in a day. That's impossible. But if you take one step every day, the mountain moves beneath your feet. This is the power of tiny disciplines. Read 10 pages. Walk 20 minutes. Write 200 words. Study for 30 minutes. Reflect for 5 minutes. You see, these small steps don't look like much in the moment. They're easy to do, easy to skip. But here's the secret. Small disciplines compound. They grow, they multiply. And one day you look back and realize that something tiny turned into something extraordinary. Let me give you my formula for discipline. Start small. Stay steady. Build strong. That's how you do it. Now, most people struggle with discipline because they depend on emotion. And remember, emotion is a poor master. Discipline asks a different question. Discipline doesn't ask, how do you feel today? Discipline asks, what did you decide? And then it follows that decision, not your mood. That's why the few achieve so much more, because they've learned how to act independent of how they feel. But discipline gets easier with a system. I teach something called the 3 daily non-negotiables. Pick 3 small actions that you commit to every day, no matter what. Actions that move your life forward by 1 inch. They don't have to be huge. They just have to be done. Because let me tell you something. The act of showing up builds more confidence than the size of the result. It's the daily act that changes you. It rewires your identity. You go from someone who tries to someone who follows through. And once your identity changes, discipline becomes normal, natural, expected. Another powerful principle is the 1% rule. Just improve 1% a day. Not 50%, not 20%, just 1. The problem with most people is not that they're unwilling to grow, it's that they're unwilling to grow slowly. And slow growth is the only growth that compounds. Let me say it like this. Consistency beats intensity. Intensity works for a week. Consistency works for a lifetime. The few focus on consistency, the many chase intensity. That's why the many burn out and the few rise. And don't forget this. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. Discipline creates freedom. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from distraction. Freedom from the old you. Once discipline becomes a rhythm, life stops feeling like a constant negotiation. The decision is made, the system is built, and the rest becomes flow. So here is your job in this section. Choose your 3 non-negotiables. Keep them small, simple, doable. Something you can do on your best day and your worst day. Because the worst days are the days that shape you. And now that we understand the role of discipline, we must talk about what happens next, the days when even discipline feels difficult. Because they're coming. And how you handle those days will determine how far you go. That takes us to our next section. The moments that break most people and how you outlast them. Now let's talk about the moments that break most people. And believe me, these moments arrive for everyone, the disciplined, the undisciplined, the beginners, the experts. It doesn't matter who you are, life will test your consistency. And the question is not whether the test will come, the question is how you respond when it does. You see, success doesn't come from your best days. Anyone can perform well on their best days. Success comes from how you behave on your worst days, your tired days, your discouraged days, your overwhelmed days. That's where the separation happens. The many fall apart when the mood drops. The few rise because the decision has already been made. Let me identify 3 of these moments so you recognize them when they arrive. The first is the energy dip. This is the day you wake up tired, not physically, but mentally. You know what you should do, but you just don't feel the spark. You say, maybe tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes a week and then a month. The dip is subtle, but it's dangerous. Here's the truth. Your consistency will be defined by what you do in the dip. My rule for the dip is simple. Do a minimum version of the habit. Not the full version, the minimum. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 set, 1 page, 1 action. Not because the result is impressive, but because you protect the identity you are building. You prove to yourself, I don't skip. And that single thought is worth more than the size of the effort. The second is the distraction storm. Suddenly, everything demands your attention. The phone rings, messages appear, tasks pile up, the world becomes noisy, and many people surrender to the storm. They let every distraction decide their day. But remember this principle. If you don't run the day will run you. You must create focus in the middle of chaos. How? 2 steps. First, pause. Just pause. Step back mentally. Second, ask one question. What is the next small action that honors my decision? Do that action immediately. The storm will still be there, but you won't be lost inside it. The third is the emotional slump. This is when discouragement knocks on the door. You've been working for weeks, maybe months, and the results are slow. No applause, no fireworks, no recognition. And you begin to wonder, is this working? Is it worth it? And here's what I tell people. Progress is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. A seed grows underground long before anyone sees a sprout. And many quit right before their sprout breaks the surface. The few keep going, not because they see results, but because they trust the process. Let me share a little story. A young man once told me, Jim, I've been consistent for 10 days and nothing has changed. I said, 10 days? My friend, if 10 days could change everything, we'd all be rich, fit, wise, and fluent in 5 languages. You don't plant a seed, water it for 10 days, and then dig it up to check on it. No. You trust that invisible progress is happening. Now, here's how you survive these breaking moments. Number 1, don't dramatize the difficulty. The many turn a hard day into a tragedy. The few treat it as part of the journey. Number 2, don't let one missed action become a streak. Missing once is human. Missing twice is a new habit. The rule is simple. Never back to back. Number 3, keep a fallback plan. On a good day, do your full routine. On a bad day, do your minimum routine, but always do something. The act is the anchor. Number 4, learn to interpret struggle correctly. The many interpret struggle as proof they should stop. The few interpret struggle as proof they're growing. Because struggle means you're stretching beyond your old comfort zone, and that's exactly where transformation lives. Here's the final principle. Bad days shape you more than good days. Good days build momentum. Bad days build character. And character is what carries you through the seasons of life that motivation never will. So the next time you face one of these breaking moments, when the dip hits, when distractions rush in, when discouragement whispers you, simply remind yourself, this is the day that counts. This is the day that makes me better. This is the day the many quit and the few grow. And with that understanding, we can now move into the next stage, building a 30-day consistency contract that guarantees your success. Now that we understand decision, design, and discipline, It's time to bring everything together into something clear, practical, and powerful. A 30-day consistency contract. And let me tell you, this little idea can transform your life. Not because it's complicated, but because it creates accountability, clarity, and structure. 3 things the average person almost never builds into their life. You see, most people stay inconsistent for one simple reason. They operate with wishes, not contracts. Wishes are emotional, contracts are intentional. Wishes disappear when life gets busy. Contracts hold you steady. Wishes depend on mood. Contracts depend on commitment. And if you want consistency, you need something stronger than a wish. So what is a 30-day consistency contract? It is a simple document written by you, for you, that outlines exactly what you are going to do for the next 30 days. Not for the next 30 years, not for the rest of your life, just 30 days. Long enough to see progress, short enough to stay focused. Let me show you how to create one. The Rohn way. Step 1, write down your primary goal for the next 30 days. Make it specific. Don't write, I want to get in shape. That's a wish. Write, I will exercise for 30 minutes 5 days a week for the next 30 days. Make it clear enough that you can measure it. Clarity is power. Vagueness is weakness. Step 2, identify your daily or weekly actions. These are your non-negotiables. Choose actions that are meaningful but manageable. Actions you can do on your best day and your worst day. Remember, consistency is not about intensity, it's about repetition. So your contract might say, I will read 10 pages every day. I will study English for 20 minutes every morning. I will write for 15 minutes before bed. I will walk 5,000 steps daily. Simple. Clear. Trackable. Step 3, set your accountability system. Jim Rohn taught that what gets measured gets improved. And it's true. You need a way to keep score. You need a way to see whether you're on track or drifting. Choose one of these. A calendar where you mark an X every day you follow through. A journal where you note your daily completion. A simple checklist taped to your wall. An app if you prefer digital tools. It's not the tool that matters, it's the tracking. Because tracking turns effort into evidence. Step 4, create your weekly review ritual. Once a week, same time, same day, you sit down and review your progress. Ask yourself 4 powerful questions. What did I do well this week? Where did I fall short? What did I learn? What will I improve next week? These 4 questions will turn 30 days into a decade's worth of wisdom. Reflection multiplies results. Step 5, choose your accountability partner too. This doesn't have to be a person. It can be a rule. Let me explain. Accountability partner 1 is your tracking system, your journal or calendar. Accountability partner 2 is something that reminds you of the cost of inconsistency. For some people, it's $1 jar. Every time you break a rule, you add $1. For some people, it's a public promise telling someone what you're doing. For others, it's a reward system. 30 days completed earns a meaningful prize. Accountability gives your contract teeth. Step 6, sign it, date it, honor it. A contract is only powerful if you take it seriously. Sign it like you're signing an agreement with your future self, because you are. Write your name, write the date, and commit not emotionally, but intentionally. Now let me share a truth most people don't realize. The contract is not about perfection, it's about direction. If you miss a day, you don't throw the contract away. You recommit. You say, I missed it, I acknowledge it, and now I continue. Because consistency isn't about never falling, it's about never staying down. And here's the magic. When you complete your first 30 days, something remarkable happens. You gain confidence not from motivation, not from inspiration, but from evidence. Evidence that you can follow through. Evidence that you can honor your word. Evidence that you can build a life, not just talk about it. And that is the beginning of transformation. Because once you trust yourself, discipline becomes easier. Once you trust yourself, momentum increases. Once you trust yourself, you begin to believe you can achieve the things you used to only dream about. So that's the contract. A simple document, a powerful commitment, a tool to turn decision into direction and direction into destiny. Now that we have the structure, let's talk about what comes next, the transformation that happens inside you after 30 days of consistency. Now let's take a look at what happens after you complete those 30 days of consistent action. And this is where the real magic begins, not in what you accomplish, but in who you become. You see, results are wonderful, but results are temporary. What matters most is the transformation that happens within you, because that transformation becomes permanent. It becomes the foundation for everything you do after. Let me start with one of my favorite truths. Success is something you attract by the person you become, not by the things you buy, the knowledge you collect, or the applause you receive. You attract success by building a version of yourself that is worthy of it. And if you stay consistent for 30 days, you begin to build that version. The first transformation is this: you trust yourself again. Many people go through life breaking promises to themselves over and over and over, and every broken promise chips away at confidence. Every broken promise whispers, "See, you can't count on yourself." But after 30 days of consistency, that inner voice changes. It starts saying, "Look at that. I followed through. I did what I said I would do." And that voice, the voice of self-trust, is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. When you trust yourself, hesitation disappears, doubt fades, confidence grows. You move with certainty, not insecurity. The second transformation is identity. You shift from someone who tries to someone who does, from someone who hopes to someone who commits. Identity is not built by talk, it's built by repeated actions. You become the kind of person who keeps their word, who shows up even when they don't feel like it, who honors the decision they made instead of the mood they're in. And identity drives behavior. Once you believe you are a disciplined person, discipline becomes natural. The third transformation is momentum. Consistency creates motion. And motion creates progress, and progress creates energy. Suddenly, you feel alive again. You start to see patterns forming. The things that used to feel difficult start feeling normal. The habits that once required effort begin to flow. And the beautiful part is this: momentum doesn't just push one area of your life, it spills over. You become better at your work, better in your relationships, better with your health, better with your time. One good habit becomes a doorway to 10 more. The fourth transformation is clarity. When you act consistently, life becomes quieter. You stop second guessing, you stop overthinking, you stop negotiating with yourself. You begin seeing your priorities clearly, what matters, what doesn't, what deserves your time, and what you should let go of. Clarity comes from action. The more you act, the more you understand. The more you hesitate, the more confused you feel. This is why I always say, motion creates clarity. The fifth transformation is self-respect. And let me tell you, self-respect is one of life's greatest rewards. When you look in the mirror and see someone who follows through, someone who shows up, someone who keeps going even when it's tough, there's a quiet pride that forms. Not arrogance, not ego, just honest respect. Most people chase self-esteem, but self-esteem doesn't come from compliments, it comes from consistency. The sixth transformation is freedom. Yes, freedom. You become free from your old habits, free from procrastination, free from the weight of unfinished goals. Discipline gives you control. And when you're in control of your day, you're in control of your life. People often think discipline is restrictive. But discipline is the very thing that frees you to build the life you want. And the seventh transformation is possibility. After 30 days, something remarkable happens. You begin to believe again. You begin to see that bigger goals might not be impossible after all. You start thinking, if I can do this for 30 days, what else can I do? Doubt shrinks, vision grows, your mind opens, your future expands. And that's the essence of this transformation. You become someone new, someone stronger, wiser, more capable, someone who moves with purpose, someone who doesn't need to wait for motivation to begin. This is the real reward of consistency, not just the habit you built, but the person you built while building the habit. And once you become that person, life responds to you differently. Opportunities appear. People treat you differently. You treat yourself differently. You're no longer hoping for life to change. You're changing it with your own hands. Now that we've looked at the transformation, it's time to bring everything home. Let's take all of these principles, decision, design, discipline, consistency, and wrap them into one final message, one final challenge. Now we've reached the end of our time together, and I want to leave you with a final challenge, a challenge that has changed more lives than any strategy, any book, or any burst of inspiration. And the challenge is this: stop waiting, start acting. You see, most people live their entire lives stuck between almost and someday. They almost start the project. They almost begin the habit. They almost commit to their potential. And someday, well, someday becomes the quiet graveyard of every dream they never started. I learned long ago that the world doesn't reward intention, it rewards action. It rewards the person who steps across the line, not the one who stands at the border. You now understand what the few do differently. They don't wait for inspiration, they create it. They don't wait for discipline, they build it. They don't wait for motivation, they design systems that move them forward regardless of how they feel. And that is the difference between the life you talk about and the life you live. The average person says, "I'll try." And trying sounds noble, but it's really a disguise for hesitation. The few don't say, "I'll try." They say, "I will." They make a decision once, and then they manage that decision daily. They understand that consistency is not an event, it's a lifestyle. It's the daily vote you cast for the person you intend to become. You've learned the principles: decision, because everything changes the day you decide. Design, because your environment must serve your goals. Discipline, because consistency requires a plan, not a feeling. Momentum, because small steps compound into massive change. Identity, because the greatest transformation happens inside, not outside. But all of that knowledge means nothing unless you act on it. So here is your challenge, simple but powerful. Choose one habit, one goal, one direction. Create your 30-day consistency contract. Start today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Today. Why today? Because today is the only day that contains power. Tomorrow is a promise with no guarantee. Yesterday is a story with no edits. But today is the doorway. Today is the invitation. Today is the moment most people waste and the few people use. Let me tell you something I've told thousands of people around the world. If you don't change today, you probably won't change. Not because you can't, but because habit is stronger than hope. And the only force strong enough to break old habits is action. Not big action, just consistent action. Remember, you don't need to transform your life in one dramatic sweep. You just need to begin. You need to keep your word once, then twice, then a week, then a month, and soon you become the person who never stops. Life bends for that person. Opportunities follow that person. Confidence grows inside that person. So here's my final message to you. You are capable of more than you have ever demonstrated. Your potential is waiting. Your future is asking. Your dream is calling. And there is only one thing left to do. Step forward. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Make the moment perfect by beginning. Most people won't, but you will. Because today, you decide. Today, you commit. Today, you begin building a life that reflects your discipline, your structure, your consistency, and your character. And one day, not long from now, you'll look back on this moment and say, that was the day everything changed. Because that was the day I stopped waiting